Good afternoon. Welcome to the Small Business Support Group. It is Monday. It's the start of a brand new week. Let's see what this week brings us, shall we? We've got Andy. Sorry, Grant.
Andy
That's because we
Stain.
can Andy, it's your brother. How are you, sir?
I'm awesome, thanks, mate. Awesome. I am glowing from my semi-normal weekend.
Semi-normal. Yes.
I went out.
Well, I had a drive. Let's do that. I had a drive. But it's just us two today, which is cool. We've got lots to talk about, which is brilliant.
We have.
But let's kick things off because obviously, as you say, you went out on Saturday night. Did you go? Did you go on Friday? Did you go to your beer bin on Friday?
No, I did. I did refrain on Friday. I reined
Beer bin.
myself in.
That's fine. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's good. But
I
you went
ended up working. Unfortunately, it was not out of choice.
No, that's fine.
I had one of those afternoons.
But you got booked in on Saturday, so tell us how that went.
Yeah, so in fact, I tell you what, before I talk about the actual the main event, that was awesome. By the way, I'm still quite full, and I've still got my doggy bag in the fridge, which is, I think, one of the best things about going out for a meal. There's always leftovers.
Definitely.
Can't beat that. I was really intrigued to see what was going on Saturday, because obviously in the UK, guys, we had the first time that we could actually visit a pub or a restaurant with the new social distancing guidelines. Also, hairdressers opened this weekend, so it's quite fascinating actually to see what happened, because a lot of people were really concerned. They were really worried that there was going to be mayhem, there was going to be total chaos, and that people were going to go bonkers and being locked up for so long. So round about 3 o'clock. And bearing in mind, in fact, let me take a step back. The first thing I did was I went into Solihull, which is our local town centre, decent town centre, and it was noticeably busier than it has been recently. Still about a third as busy as it would normally be, I would say, on a Saturday. But what was really quite refreshing is to see that the cafes were open. We actually went into Pret and had a sit down. And had a cup of coffee. So that was my first experience of actually using a cafe, restaurant, pub, or anything like that for the last, what's it been, 3.5, 4 months, which did feel a bit weird. And the way they're dealing with it, in actual fact, in terms of the registration, is that they've got a QR code on every table, and you have to, as it seems, voluntarily book yourself in. So there's by no means any policing of it. And I think I was the only person that did it, looking in there. They've obviously spaced out all the tables. They've, got everything socially distanced. But in terms of monitoring who's been in and who hasn't, because obviously they want to do that in case there's an outbreak and they can track people, I think I was the only one that did it. And I did it really out of curiosity. So that was my first observation. But it was, I have to say, lovely to see these places open again, to see people seeming to be visibly more relaxed. I think is the overall feeling I got from the shops. But they still weren't busy. About a third full is the observation. John Lewis, which is the big department store, was very much the restrictions had been lifted a little bit. So prior to this, when I'd gone into Solihull, they'd got a very strict queuing system to allow you in and out. And when you got into John Lewis, there was hardly anybody in there. They clearly had a policy of just letting a few people in. They seem to have lifted that now, and it was much busier. Still social distancing and sanitizer and everything in there. But again, the restrictions are definitely less, severe than what they used to be. So on the whole, guys, I would say that going out and about now is starting to get back to, what we'd expect. So that was my first observation. So then about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought I'm going to have a drive round and I'm going to go and have a look and see what the pubs are doing. Purely out of research, because my dad loves a pint. He's very much on the vulnerable list. He's got lung problems and a few other ailments that would mean that You know, he's very much in quarantine still and likely to be for a while. But I wanted to go and observe what the pubs were like, because as soon as we are able to do it in a safe and appropriate manner, I'd love to take my old man out for a beer. It is his medicine. And, you know, it's awful that he hasn't been able to do it. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon, our two local villages, Knowle and Dorridge, have got several pubs. It was pretty quiet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. People were clearly cautiously taking the steps back into these places, and it was very much. I could have gone into any of them. There's a handful of people in most of the pubs at that time in the afternoon. I think most of them have been open since lunchtime. But yeah, really, really quiet. I'm led to believe that all changed. So we had our meal booked in Knowle at the Allura, which is my local curryhouse. I've been going there since I was 16 years old. It's my second home. Absolutely love it in there. You know, I was first on the list to be booked in, and I took the family, and so we went up there and we booked for 7 o'clock, nice and early. We knew that it was fully booked, and you know, even though we booked well ahead, we were, you know, amongst the last people to get the last few tables. Got in there, surprised to find it pretty much empty. There was a handful of other people in there. They did a really great job of managing the hygiene. Everybody had the full PPE, sanitizer everywhere. They served the meal in a different way as well, so that, you know, they didn't serve the meal for you. Everything was done, you know, you handled everything yourself. All the cutlery was wrapped up. Did a great job of managing the safety, I have to say. Made you not be concerned at all. They were only allowing one person at a time to pick up takeaways, so there was no chance of bumping into anybody or anything like that. So from that perspective, not a problem. However, this is a relatively small restaurant. I would say, how many people would you say you get in the Allura normally, Matt?
I would say
60.
60, yeah, 50 to 60.
Yeah,
just while you're talking, just down as a Jordan. I'll just pop on the screen. There you go. Morning, down. Afternoon.
Hey, Darren.
Yeah, I would say about 50 or 60.
Yeah, about that. Morning. So they would have about, I reckon they were about 20% down, roughly 30% down, because of the way they'd spaced the tables out.
Yeah.
They had 10 tables cancel on the day. So we were expecting to go in there, you know, and sort of have to be quite cautious and careful, especially as we were going to see my mum and dad for Sunday lunch the next day, who are very much in the vulnerable, area of the whole thing. And so we were going in there with being super cautious. The place was probably about a third full, because clearly what had happened is loads of people had just got cold feet. They'd booked up, got overexcited, decided they were going to go for it. But when it came down to it, the fear of what's gone on got the better of them, and they had 10 cancellations, which I was absolutely flabbergasted by. I think it was mainly older people, more vulnerable people, from having spoken to the manager that did it, and a lot of them had just got takeaways instead. But it just goes to show you that fear and the whole sort of worry around this, despite us opening up, is still playing a massive part as to whether or not businesses are going to be trading. I mean, I doubt they made money that night, you know, opening up. I mean, it was a brilliant step in the right direction to getting things moving again. However, that was my observation. So had a fantastic meal, by the way. Oh, it was so nice. It was just so nice to get back to that, a family meal out, the first one for so long. I sent you guys the pictures.
Yeah, you all look very happy.
Yeah, and it was awesome. And coming out, so we were only in there, you know, I don't know, an hour and a half tops, probably not even that long. Then observing the pubs, they were busy. So the pubs that were open were busy. So the ale rooms opposite, people all out on the street. It looked busy. But the Gres wasn't open, so there were two main pubs. I don't think that Gres wasn't open. I don't think Wilson's was open either.
No.
But yeah, it had clearly got, you know, very, very busy. So and that's, you know, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's great to see the place trading again, and I'm delighted for Mark, who owns the place. You know, he's but, and again, is it mainly young people that are using it? You and I talked about this, Matt. The majority of the people.
Picture. This is a picture that was surfaced Sunday morning, actually, after Saturday night, which was taken on one of the main roads in Soho in London, with all the pubs. This is extreme. I feel that I don't think any social distance is going on there. As Grant said, it's mainly young people who are in that picture, but there's several pictures that are floating around where there was police going through the centre of the crowd because there was so many people there. Lots of, as I say, non-social distancing going on, kissing, hugging, all that. So I think all we can do is just sit and watch now and wait, you know, and see how places go, because it's I feel this is a social experiment when we open up them pubs.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a drive round like Grant did on Saturday, and I stayed in Saturday night, but I thought I'd go and have a drive round. So I drove round just our local district and went into Solihull and out to some pubs in the countryside. And you know, they were busy. This was about 5:30. They were all busy pubs, and it was nice to see. You know, it was good. Everybody, all the seating outside. Thank goodness we had a dry weekend as such. It allowed people to sit outside. And then I went for a walk on Sunday morning and went to our hotel, which is just down the road from us here, and had coffee outside there, and spoke to the general manager there, and he was saying that, you know, they didn't have any problems, you know, that everybody respected booking tables, even though you're supposed to have this 2-hour block to booking. A lot of people were multi-booking in different names, and they're sitting there all afternoon. And he said he wasn't bothered because he said we didn't have much walk-ups. You know, everything was booked quite nicely. It was the table service, which worked really well. And you know, even when we had coffee there yesterday morning, it was, you know, somebody came out, took our order, went in, you know, paid contactless. So great. And I didn't.
Hold on a minute, Matt. Just got to stop you there, mate.
Go on, mate.
You went out.
I went
out. And had a coffee.
We weren't going to do that because we were just went a big dog walk, so we were just doing that. And I thought, well, no, we're going to have a coffee. We're going to have a coffee, and it was. But I did afterwards think, the cup's clean, was the glasses clean? You know, I just think, oh no, what, you know? But you've got to get over it, haven't you? You've just got to get on. I think. I mean, Andy said at the Forest that everything was being cleaned, you know, really well. Floors, glassware, walls, everything being wiped down, and you know they're sticklers for that, so it's really good. But yeah, and the coffee was good, so that was excellent. So it is happening, but let's just see what happens after that picture. You know, it's just, I think there's going to be some cases there, surely. And add that. Well, how many think?
3 masks, I think. That's all
I can't. There's no one in masks, is there?
There's two masks I can see. Is there?
There's two. There's two on the right.
It's like where, and there's one in the middle. There's three. It's like where's Wally, isn't it?
Out of 5,000 people on the street, there's 3 people wearing masks. So did you do anything, Darren, or was it? Did you? I know you went. You had the Segway.
Yeah. Stuntman Darren, what you get up to, mate?
Start calling me the fall guy. But yeah, it was. I am surprised. I'm really surprised. We opened on Saturday. All free paying. So all the sessions were free, all booked. We had one cancellation of 2 people. And I'm just, it's really hard. So if you rewind just maybe a month or 2 and you say that we've been doing everything, wiping down our food, not talking to everybody, it seems that people are doing polar opposite now. And we haven't got that middle ground at all. So people were turning up. The first group all wanted to shake my hand, just so random. Straight up to me to shake my hand. I'm sort of like, you know, straight under the cleaner, wash my hand. I'm just thinking, what on earth? You know, we've got all this COVID stuff in place. So even if you book, you have to tick a COVID disclaimer that you've read it before you can even get to the payment side. We've got a separate container where you go in. There's hand washing stuff. You do all your disclaimers in there. That's all wiped down. Our helmets are wiped down afterwards. There's a dirty and a clean side. Our handlebars are wiped down. So we go through all that pain. But I have to say, there wasn't one customer the weekend that was remotely bothered about COVID. Not remotely. We had, that said, we had a great review saying how great we were with our COVID procedures. But everybody wanted to get close and had to keep moving away. Everybody, there was bizarre, just bizarre. Even to the point,
that's the thing. You're a bit of a hugger.
Yeah, well, I am, to be honest. I'm missing the hugging thing, and it is funny because I had a build around on Sunday, and he walked up to me to shake my hand, and I was got my arms like this. So he felt so awkward then because I thought. And at the end, when he finished doing his quote, I shook his hand, but then again, walked in like this as if I'd just put my hand in muck and I've got to wash it. You know what I mean? It's just like that. There is the mentality is that because we've come out, and you can see from that picture, it's gone. And I think we haven't got the middle ground. Yeah, the tunnel.
That's the tunnel.
Yeah, that goes under the main road. It's a great tunnel. Yeah, it's really good. There was a bull the other side, which was funny, but so we had to stay around a bull. But yeah, I do feel that people have they've gone from one extreme where they've protected themselves ridiculously to the other extreme where they're just literally past caring. And I think that's
the government were worried about this, weren't they? Because that's what they said. I'm sorry, Grant, I've just got your picture up from Saturday night. There it is, enjoying your meal. The government were worried about this, weren't they? Because they said that because they're releasing the lockdown, and I think that the pub thing and the restaurants was the pinnacle of it. And I think everybody went, it's all right, it's all finished now. Carry on, everybody. And I think that's how a lot of people felt, you know. And it's, I don't know. I don't want to keep saying, well, there's a lot of people over the weekend that said it's still out there. It's still out there. Well, it is. So's the flu. So's everything other diseases. I'm sort of swinging.
Yeah, it is. And it is trying to find that roundabout, isn't it? It's trying to find that bit where you're making some measured risks, and I said as a family we've got to do more of that measured risk. And we've obviously been hit by it hard, and we've probably gone to the extreme because of that. But also, I think you also measure your risks in different ways. We're stranded down here from a family point of view. So if Tracy or I was to be ill, then the support mechanism, regardless of any other situation, is going to be very hard. So again, you measure your risk that way. You can't afford one of you to be really ill. And again, we have a disabled son. So again, you've got to. But on the flip side, Lola, who's fine, has to have some measured risk and has to have them distanced friendship outings where they go out and they keep distance from each other. They've got some TikToks they've done with masks on, which are hilarious. But you know, it's scaring the living daylights out of the youth. It really is. Some of the youth, should I say? But it's so hard to find that middle ground. I understand Grant's frustrations as well with the businesses being open. And again, I think my message to my business partner Saturday morning, this could be the start of something brilliant, as in the first site opening properly at last, our site, or the start of something really horrible. And I honestly can't call it. I just can't call it. You know, it is an experiment.
We've just got to ride through it, and just you know, this is. I think if you're going to be sensible, carry on being sensible. If you want to, you know, go out with 5,000 people, go out with 5,000 people, and then just see what happens, and let's see who wins.
I do find it very odd though that people, you know, are shaking hands and stuff like that, because it's no big deal to not shake hands. It's no big deal to just, you know, the social distancing thing. Let's face it, it's a pain in the bum, but it's you know, it's not that difficult, is it? You know what I mean? And I just find that really odd, because most people I've interacted with, and admittedly it's not been many, because of, you know, what I've been going through, have kind of understood. So, you know, I mean, I've been going to work with a colleague of mine, sort of once a week-ish. We've not shaken hands once. You know, we've both observed, and neither of us are particularly, you know, what's the word? We're not overly, you know, worried about Well, no, what I mean is that it's not like we're not worried about catching it. You know, I think I'm pretty certain I've already had it, and if I hadn't, I'm not really that bothered whether I catch it or not. I don't think it's going to kill me.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but even so, we've both been respectful, and we've not shook hands. We've not got close to each other. We did drive in a car together once, but I made sure the roof was down, and so there was plenty of fresh air around. But I just find it very odd that people would just blatantly ignore the social distancing. It's almost like it's. I find that really odd.
And it could, because they come in groups for us as well. They've congregated around, so it's been really hard. So I wanted to get into the office a couple of times, but they're standing in the doorway. So I'm standing there. Can you excuse me, please? But even that, they just haven't got it at all. And this is 4 or 5 separate groups of people, and I'd say every single one of them. And I have to say as well, try not to be derogatory to our trade, but of different perceived intelligence.
Those bloody Segway drivers, isn't it? You know.
Absolutely. So we've got people. There's a wedding arranger. There's people at the top that I would say are running their own businesses. So I have some now, some whatever else. Didn't care. And we've got people that were just more challenging to deal with, as a bit more Larry going around the course and whatever else. So from the opposite end of the scale. So it was general. It was a real general feel that people have had enough and they're just carrying on with their day. And I was just like, didn't even ask. No one was concerned. No one said, "Is this helmet being cleaned? Have you wiped down the segways? We've got a checklist." And no one asked to see that. No one was interested. Not interested in Slice. They wanted to get on their free ride. So
pubs are open. That's it. It's done. It's that's what I'm saying. Just moving on, as we're talking about pubs and stuff. Darren, what's your take on the government help for the venues and the theatres this morning? Obviously not the theatres, because I know you're not a thespian, but as the gig venues, they're supplying, or they're going to put in 1.5 billion to support the arts over the next few months.
I think that's massive. Down here, we've got theatres. So if you look in Barnstable, there's a theatre, and they're very small in comparison. They're not the repertory theatre. They do big stars in some of them, and we've got one in Ilfracombe, which is like the one in Ilfracombe. It's quite a new one. It's in the shape of mining towers. It's quite niche. It's quite a nice looking place. But again, they're all owned by a small company, or they've closed and reopened, as in almost come to administration. And they're wonderful things for my kids, you know, to have somewhere within an hour that I can go. And even the big one down in Plymouth, that has struggled massively and had to have loads of layoffs. I think it's great. I think it's one of the areas that, and of course, being a musician, gets overlooked. And they're big business, but they're a different type of business, aren't they? It's not so hard nosed in the same way you're making business out of more fun and whatever else. But I think it's a great investment and about time. I think them sort of people can't just shut down enjoyment. You know,
in the theatres, I mean, we're not. I don't think we're going to get live music or theatres till next year. Now, I think you've got to rule out this year completely. But yeah, I think looking what they're saying, they're going to give 800 million in grants, which means great, which they don't have to pay those back, and then the rest is going to be in loans, which obviously will be probably a bounce back top of loan or whatever for these for the theatres, because they can't. There's nothing they can do, because theatres are such scrape through as it is, because they have to fill those seats, and it's a real particular number they have to hit to make sure it's profitable. So they're going to have support, and we can't lose our theatre side of things, and the gigs, the pubs. Well, that's just have to wait till it comes around, because if any pubs that people went out to over the weekend, there's obviously no music being played at all. It's not allowed to play any music, background music or anything, just in case increases the volume level that you're speaking in, because when you start shouting, your droplets come out the mouth faster and further. That's the reason for that. So they're
not supposed to play music. Is that? I've not heard that one.
No music.
No music, yeah.
No music at all. Yeah, no music at all. Yeah, I knew that was coming. They announced that last week.
Your experience, Grant?
What was that, mate?
Your experience a little bit different the weekend. Was there some slight background music going on in places, in venues?
There might have been,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I think background music, if you know, in restaurants, but the idea is not to get people shouting. So
No
I
loud
don't
music.
think background music is probably fine, but no music at all at any higher level, which is fair enough. I mean, I think you can say that my Friday night house party, which I don't know if anybody saw, because obviously I know you're all busy people, but we did have a few people around in the garden just the day before the lockdown eased, and it was this was a camera shot that was about 9 o'clock. And if anybody's been following the house party on a Friday night, we've had this stalker who's Birmingham Bob, his name is, and he's actually the bottom right hand corner there, who was outside my house with a camera, which was very worrying. But we had a few people in, and it was great. And there's me and Birmingham Bob, because I invited him in. I knew who he was, so don't panic. There was a few people who were panicking, but I did know who he was, and it's somebody I know. Yeah, and that was great, and we had a great night, and it was like everybody was in the garden, in the kitchen, and it was two families as such, but it was brilliant to do that again. You know, it was really good. But of course, the families are so big because we've got 5 in our family, and then that other family had 6 in them. So there was a lot of people in there, but it was great to do that. That was really a game changer for me for the past 3 months to be able to like that again. It was really, really good. Well, I think there was half an hour there, so that was good. Anything else? Oh, the podcast.
Can I just?
Go on, mate.
Just about the holiday parks. I just want to get a bit of a realistic view. So we was told by one family that by the A30 that they saw the night prior to the 4th, so it'd be the Friday night. It was gridlocked with caravans at night time, and I think what that was probably people who's booked panicking that it's going to be busy the following day, and getting down early. It's not as they've forecast. Nowhere near. I didn't see any traffic. I have to travel about an hour and 20 minutes up to Woolacombe. I saw 3 motorhomes and 1 caravan. Coming back, I think, was it Sunday? I went to our Bude site, which is on a caravan site, and did a tour there. And I'd say it's at about 1/3 capacity.
Really?
So considering we're supposed to be absolutely rammed, people are still turning up slowly, but it's nothing like what people have forecast. So the 80,000 and the mass influx, no, it's not that case. Not that I've seen from 2 caravan sites and been on the local roads. Yeah, I think people were scaremongering the night before, so you got that typical build-up where people have booked, but no, we're not seeing that mass influx of business. But again, just to reiterate what Grant and what you said, Matt, I drove through Bude, which is normally a bit sorry looking, and there's a pub called the Carriers, and people were sitting outside. And as much as part of me pains to say, it was nice to see people. It was nice to see Bude a little bit more vibrant. The impact, none of us know, but I do.
There this is BT cables will do that.
It made it look like you were walking. It made it look like you were walking into a acting theatre. There was that much tape on the floor, etc.
Oh, I know. Yes,
I don't see. But just to end on that, it's just like I say, the influx and all the busyness and whatever else, a little bit of over media madness. Really, I think it will build, but I don't think it's going to be what we. It's not the streets that you showed on that picture, that's for sure.
No, I think that was very particular to London. I mean, on the caravan front, is obviously I'm connected with the caravan site in Wales, and they've obviously had notification now that they can open on I think it's the 13th of July. Okay. But they only can have owners. They can't rent out the caravans. The Welsh government have said so. Okay. That's interesting, and everybody's a little bit up in arms with that because. Obviously, a lot of these people who buy these caravans, which are expensive, and they want to rent them out to earn the money to pay for the site rent and all that. And it's so that's going to be an interesting one to watch. But I'm actually venturing to them as soon. I think it's next week. I'm going to be over to the caravan park, so I will hopefully be broadcasting from there. They've sorted the Wi-Fi out over the 3 months, so that should be good. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see how that works, because we keep forgetting that England and Scotland are so they're like 2 weeks behind us. You know, it's they're sort of opening up the beer next week, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
You know, so it's going to be interesting. Okay, then, people. Just want to say thank you to everybody who voted for our podcast. It was a bit of a surprise one. I was notified on a Saturday that we were able to take votes because we had to hit a certain number of listeners or views on listeners on podcast. So everybody who voted for us, thank you very much. I doubt we're going to win because the applications are open from the beginning of June. So I think there may be some other people got a few more than us, but it doesn't matter. It's a place to start, isn't it? Yes.
Next year, Matt. Next year.
Yeah. And also, sorry, I just want to briefly mention we've been contacted by a booking service which books people onto podcasts. So we'll be getting some new guests, you know, not regular ones, just one-offs that we'll be notified for, and we can ask questions to them, and that'll be happening over the next few weeks. So that's quite exciting. So yeah, it's all looking good. So thanks, gentlemen, for being with us today. Anything else? Does anybody want to say anything else? No final comments.
I'll save mine for tomorrow. I've got a couple of things. We'll do it tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, excellent. Right, we'll see you all tomorrow at 12 o'clock. See you soon. Bye bye, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Bye.